we finally go in an era of precision medicine. We finally are in a place, we're building the data models now that we're able to make decisions for you as an individual.
We are here with Felicia von Reden, the co-founder and CEO of Ovom Care. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I want to talk about all that you're building in the IVF space. It's an industry that is very up and coming right now. Despite having existed for so long, there's been so much innovation recently. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of what you're building, I want to know a little bit about you. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself, kind of where you're from and who you are today?
So my name is Felicia. I am one of the co-founders and CEO of Ovom Care. I have a background in business, so very traditionally I studied business administration in Germany and in Switzerland. And I knew super early on that I'm going to be building companies and building something that is changing status quo. So my mom, interestingly, she is an entrepreneur herself. And when I was growing up, I had my teeny tiny desk next to hers and playing baby CEO as she was taking calls. And growing up with her working while also still managing a family and being with the kids was super inspiring for me. So yeah, something that is in my blood,
yes.
The entrepreneurship itself. And I wanted to build a company earlier. My parents told me, no, you need to study first, you need to learn something first, and then you can go into the world. And after studying, I started my first company in the space of veterinary medicine, and then approximately 2 years later, moved on to the space of fertility care, based on my own experience with infertility.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you. What was the inspiration behind this? It's such a important topic to so many people, and I feel like so many founders in this space have a personal connection or experience in it that made them want to innovate on it. So can you tell me a little bit about what inspired you?
Absolutely. So I got myself diagnosed with severe endometriosis about 2.5 years ago. That was something quite shocking at that point of time, because the doctor told me, your reproductive age is at least 10 years older than your actual biological age. And I was like, oof, okay, that's interesting. And he suggested that if I ever want to build a family, I should start to look into that right away. For me back then, I was 26, I think. I was not ready, right? I want to build a career, I want to build a company, I want to build something that changes the world. So I'm not ready for that. Also from a partner perspective.
Yeah.
So I started looking into what my pathway would look like in building a family down the line. What are my options? What can I expect? Is it impossible? Is there some chances for me? What is the right thing to do? So I started looking into fertility clinics and fertility solutions, and got quite disappointed because it felt like one size fits all. It's like you have a standard package of care with stimulation, all the hormonal injections and everything, and that is thrown at you, and then you just go with it and you do a trial run of an IVF cycle, or in my case, egg freezing cycle. And the lack of personalization, the lack of also personal touch in all of that, not feeling like a number, but feeling like a unique individual that is, not like everyone else, because every one of us has their own story. I didn't feel that. So I turned around and said, okay, if there's nothing out there that I feel really comfortable with and moving forward with, I'm going to be turning around and building what I would like to experience as a patient myself. And to be fair, most of that was also driven, and that one was probably the most shocking aspect for me. Success rates in IVF care are so low. They are so incredibly low for the whole trouble, for the cost, for all the pain that you have to go through for one cycle of IVF stimulation. It's not high enough. So, I'm more a curious kind of person. So I started looking into, okay, why is that so low? Obviously it's biology, so obviously it's a lot also on our bodies, but are there ways to improve that? Yeah. So I came to the point of precision medicine. In the end, personalizing fertility care to each individual human that seeks to build a family, and really optimizing the care for each person, and by that actually boosting the success rates.
With Ovom today, what exactly are you offering to ensure that it is personalized, more cost-effective, more successful? Yeah. What do the services look like?
Yes. So Ovom Care is on a mission to empower every single human being that seeks to build a family to become a parent, right? That is like sentence end, this is what we're doing. This is built on 3 pillars. One is success rates. We are using technology and research to significantly improve success rates for both IVF, but also egg freezing. The second pillar for us is accessibility. IVF shouldn't be something that is a luxury service around that. So we really focus on driving efficiency in the clinic without obviously on the cost of quality. We're really focusing on taking completely out the administrative work and giving the doctors and the staff time back for the patient, while also with that reducing the cost for the patient. The other aspect on the cost component, we are based in Portugal with our second clinic, focusing really on areas in the world where we can have extremely high quality of care with the technology and our doctors. At the same time, the operation costs are a little bit lower, so we can also pass the cost benefits on to the patient. And pillar number 3 is patient experience. You know, when you walk into a fertility clinic today, in most cases, it feels like a clinic. It's wide, it's sterile. It doesn't feel like, you know, something that you can really feel comfortable in going on that journey. It's something that is extremely emotional. We changed that. So really for us, it's all about the patient making you feel seen as an individual, right? It's all about you, how you as a unique person. And by that, we do that with technology, obviously, being with you every step of the way through the app, you know, being with you, but of course also through components as, for example, having images and videos to show to you transparently as your embryo or your eggs essentially have been collected or / with embryos have been developing. So we make you part of the journey and not just a bystander of that journey. So yeah, it's the 3 pillars that, you know, make us essentially.
How does then AI come into play? And like new and emerging technologies, like you're saying, either with the app or with this imaging, there's a lot that you're using technology for. With AI specifically, how is that being implemented?
So AI comes into play with 2 components of those. Obviously for the first one with success rate and the other one with patient experience. Starting with patient experience, we are in an era now where we can use large language models and automated systems to really support you in the best possible manner without any timely delays, and really being with you and, you know, seeing, like, already sensing you have a wish even before you actually know it. So this is on the customer experience side of things. More importantly, more dominantly, obviously, our focus is AI when it comes to personalizing fertility care, right? So we deploy artificial intelligence to personalize every single decision step through the journey. When it comes to what is the right medication, to the right dosage, to, you know, when you look at the egg cells, it's not just about the quantity, but it's more importantly also about the quality of the eggs. So we have AI which is assessing the quality, which is then ultimately informing the doctors and the embryologists and making better decisions for you as, you know, as an individual. And by that ultimately improving the success rates.
Yeah, definitely. You are the CEO of this company, so you are deciding a lot of these like business decisions and like, you know, operationally how to implement these new technologies, all those sorts of things. But the healthcare side of it is obviously a major part of the company itself. What does your team look like to ensure that you can bring the business and the tech and the innovation while also having that really quality healthcare experience as well?
What makes this company unique is that we have the 2 parts. One is technical, really innovation, AI, data, everything around that. And the other part of the company is really around the medical aspect, the operations of a clinic. Only if we bring the 2 teams together, you can actually develop innovation that brings that value to the patient. It's not just developing something in my corner, as you know, from the IT perspective, but you develop it in real time with the operational needs that we have. So for us, operational excellence and the patient care comes first, and that is informing then technology. And what do we actually need from technology, which is then feeding back into operations, receiving feedback, okay, what do we need to do differently? So it's really the combination of having those 2 aspects together in this company as one and really talking to each other and working together. This is what makes this actually different.
How big is the team today?
We are today 23 people.
Okay, and how has that been to grow that as, like I said, as the CEO making these business decisions? How have you gone about picking the right people, finding, you know, the spots of the company that you need to fill and all those sorts of things you have to think about?
Fortunately, I'm not on my own. I have a wonderful co-founder, Dr. Linnea Brayboy. She's a reproductive clinician trained in the US and came a couple of years to Germany. And she is managing everything from the medical side of things. You know, who to hire, you know, what to focus on from the medical component. Also what technologies to employ, what does actually make sense in the medical perspective. So she's focusing all of that. I'm focusing together with our wonderful CTO, Tom Krause, who is very, very experienced in the AI space, who is really focusing on the technology side of things. With him, I'm working together and really building the team around that.
The AI space is obviously moving so quickly, same with many forms of technology, but the healthcare industry has been historically slower to adapt to things for, you know, a lot of reasons. But how do you walk the line of making sure that you're innovating quick enough, especially as a startup, while also having to deal with a maybe slower industry in a lot of ways?
So the unique thing about our company is we are essentially two companies at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
We are a technology company, which is really developing algorithms to personalize fertility care. And the other side, we are also a healthcare provider because we offer those services directly to the patient. And that's the key, as we're both of that. Mm-hmm. Because if you only develop technology and then wait for the market to adopt it, you have a time lag in there, right? And that's something that we wanted to bridge on purpose. Mm-hmm. So we develop technology and we bring it directly to the patient as we also are the care provider. So that way we shorten that lag significantly and work with the patient as we innovate, as we go ahead. So we shorten that time by quite a lot.
And is that a reason that you guys have your own clinics as well? Because I mean, theoretically, you could have just created the technology and then offered it to other providers, but I'm guessing that's why you wanted to keep it in-house.
That's exactly as mentioned. It takes a long time for traditional healthcare providers, which has been the market for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, to get them to adopt new technology. They're rather reluctant. Mm-hmm. They're open, like the openness is growing, don't get me wrong, and we love to see that. But it's to iterate faster what works, what doesn't work, how to actually go into the space and the new innovation, you need to be directly with the patient. So that's one reason why we actually have our own clinic and our own service provision within Ovom.
Yeah, that's super important, I think. And like you said, it just allows you to innovate a little bit faster. But the speed of things is just one of the many challenges that startups have to deal with and find a way to get past. Yeah. What are some of the other challenges that you guys are dealing with, and how are you jumping over those hurdles?
Yeah, I think when it comes to the speed of things, I strongly believe in building on top of emerging technology. My perspective, my hypothesis is bet on the technologies like ChatGPT, large language model that have been evolving in the past, build on top of that to grow faster together with them instead of building everything on our own. So that is number one, that helps us really to rely on existing technology to build the layer on top as a care provider and also down the line as the operating system for fertility clinics. When it comes to other hurdles, we are building a fertility clinic right now in Portugal. There's a lot of hurdles on that side.
What are those? What types of hurdles are they? Is it like just in the physical space itself, in regulation across borders? What does it look like? Regulation is one aspect. Every single European country has a different set of regulation when it comes to fertility care. That's number one. So really going into the market, identifying what are the challenges, what are the benefits, how do we work in this country, that's number one. But we chose Portugal for also the reason of that benefit. The second one is a construction site always takes longer than you expect. So that one is really frustrating as you go through. But I believe that is part of business. And also we develop the systems now internally with very experienced people from the inside, but also from the outside to overcome those hurdles more and more and more. So it's becoming more of a modular approach that we're doing, making us also fast on that. So with everything that doesn't work, you learn how to do it the next time better around and then apply that in the next projects. So you guys have helped more than 350 patients with your services. What are the services that they're most often coming to you for?
It is almost 50-50 egg freezing and IVF or IVF-related services. It's really, really interesting to see that there's an increase in appetite for egg freezing and social freezing, right? Because it's not just eggs, it's also sperm freezing in there. So there's a lot of focus right now on preserving fertility for the future, which is, obviously encouraging, given that we see declining birth rates and we decide to, build families later in time. So that's something that we see definitely increase in demand at the moment.
That's super exciting for you guys, obviously as a company that's building around this, but I'm sure it's also exciting for investors who are looking at you guys as somewhere to back. You have $8 million in funding. What has that funding journey looked like from your end?
We have seen an incredible amount of support because this topic, like 2-3 years ago, was still not that big of a topic, fertility. So really in the last couple of years it has been increasing. But everyone is seeing at this point that we need to do something in that space because fertility rates are declining all across the globe. We see, people struggling with fertility more and more. Right now, we have the amount of people which are not able to access fertility care is more than 95% of people which are actually infertile. So there is a huge demand. Demand is not the question for this industry, right? The question is rather especially for investors, how do you drive the change? How are you the change driver of that industry? And there I'm going back to what I mentioned earlier, is by combining the technology component, by also being close to the patient and really delivering the value that we create on the technology innovation side of things directly to the patient and by that iterating super fast and going forward.
And are investors understanding this? I feel like, especially in speaking with female founders surrounding female issues, a lot of times investors are men. Has this been a hurdle to get them to understand the importance of it, or has it been pretty well received?
I think we've been pretty lucky that we really identified investors in our close ecosystem which A, understand the topic, but also B, understand the importance of that. So we didn't receive much pushback in terms of this wouldn't be a huge topic, because it is.
Yeah.
And interestingly, fertility is not just a female issue, it is also a male issue.
Totally.
Right? So the topic of family building is equally relevant for both sides. So that one we have been quite lucky and have very understanding and very bullish investors on the topic on our side.
My last question for you, what are your predictions about what's next in the fertility space, especially with emerging technologies and more of this importance being put on the topic? What are you prepared for?
Yeah. We finally go in an era of precision medicine. We finally are in a place, we're building the data models now that we're able to make decisions for you as an individual. Understanding what is the impact, for example, of your sleep patterns or your stress levels. What is the impact, for example, on how you react to medication when it comes to fertility care? We finally are in a stage where we make the care about you and not essentially applicable to everyone which is coming through the doors. And that's something that's incredibly exciting for us, because ultimately that means that we can enable people to build more families and be happier.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much, Felicia, for joining me today and walking me through all that you guys are building. I cannot wait to see what comes next for you.
Thank you.